So just a few last things. This will be a short video, just in addition to parts 1 and 2, just a quick wrap up. So the activity of having you each report on what happened with the civil disturbance at SALS is really about having you understand that learning happens through listening and through understanding others' points of view. And I want you to connect with people who are different, whether another culture, generation, or someone with a different life experience, and to take into account their own interpretation of things that are happening around us. Understand someone else's point of view. It's really important that you learn to do that you think critically about different perspectives and about your own perspective, and how other points of view can really influence you to think differently about your own perspective. And as you gain perspective and insights from others, your ideas evolve, your ways of seeing the world evolves. And that is an important aspect of doing history, is it really brings in other people's experiences into contact with your own thoughts and ideas about the way the world is. We're going to open this next week, week 2, looking at imperialism in the late 19th century. And so the beliefs about the American empire, the growing imperial power of America, we want to really pick apart some of those beliefs and look at those critically to see what influences and ideas and experiences are happening at the turn of the century. So we're going to start with Senator Albert Beveridge's March of the Flag. It's a very popular, at the time, it was a popular speech that he made. And what I want you to do is to take a look at that speech and analyze it. I'm going to give you a worksheet that you can break it down. And so we'll be doing sourcing with this document. And sourcing means asking you to evaluate the reliability of this text. This will be the March of the Flag text in this case. Who made it? And we know it's Albert Beveridge, but I want you to kind of delve in a little bit more and think about who he is and what his point of view is and why he might have made references that he did in this speech and what they meant. When did he give this speech? Why did he give this speech? What value do historians place on this speech, if any? Is it valuable? Is this a source that we still can gain insight from and is valuable? So all of these questions will come into play for you. And why would we do primary source analysis? Why is that important? We're talking about firsthand accounts. We're talking about sources that were written at the time of the event or at the time of the era that we're looking at. So you as consumers, as somebody who will synthesize history and tell your own story, rather than being a consumer, rather than having the media give this to you or some other historian tell you what this source means, I want you to engage in the analysis yourself so that you are doing the work of a historian. You're piecing together the past for yourself. You're understanding the story in a way that only you can understand it, and that's really important. So I'll leave you with that for our lecture today, for the presentation. What I want to do is just kind of show you, if I can expand. Hold on just a second. So just briefly, this is week 2. This is what you'll be doing for this week. I'll start you off with the syllabus question and answer session that I have uploaded here. It's about 15 minutes where I try to answer most of the questions that you've asked me in your syllabus review. And then here are the videos that I'm doing right now, the discussion of history and memory. And then I want you to watch the first 13 minutes of an interview with historian John Dower. And he really talks about memory and what memory to him, how World War II and 9/11 really tied together. As a historian of World War II, he saw a lot of things repeat in the stories that were constructed around 9/11. And I think you could watch the whole interview if you're so inclined to do so, but the first 13 minutes are what I want you to focus on for this week. And then I want you to watch a little bit of the original kind of presentation that the public was getting about Pearl Harbor and what was happening in the news at that time. So pay attention to the language that the commentator in this piece is using and how the attack on Pearl Harbor is being framed. I think it's an important piece of kind of historical evidence for you to look at. And then 9/11 memory activity. I want you to take a few moments, write down your memories of 9/11. How old were you? Where were you? What do you remember? Did it affect your life in any measurable way? Now, if you were too young to remember, maybe you can talk to your parents about their memories or your siblings, or even how it's impacted your family, your memory through your family's memory, that kind of thing. And then I want you to spend some time at the September 11th Digital Archive, and I've put the link right in here for you to go to, and pay special attention to the Sonic Memorial Project. This is where there's kind of this repository of links to audio clips and testimonies of people that were there. And so it's an important project, an ongoing project where they're collecting different memories and housing them together at this site. Spend some time looking at the photographs, reading and listening to the memories, and thinking about these collections of primary sources and how they help us understand the events of 9/11. And then I want you to take your favorite item that you found on this database, and I want you to tell the class why and post it here at the forum. And then I want you to read A Date Which Will Live, talking about Pearl Harbor and American memory. This is that website where you can analyze FDR's speeches and look at all the changes that he made, keeping in mind what Emily Rosenberg said about the construction of memory. And then I want you to compare the two speeches. So the speech that FDR made to Congress after Pearl Harbor, and this will be the speech that you will have looked at. The different iterations of that speech will kind of culminate in his live speech to Congress that he's reading from that document that you will have looked at. And then Bush's address to the nation after 9/11, and listen to it and listen to the similarities and the differences, and then have open up this PDF, and there's a place for you to talk about the differences and the similarities and comparing these speeches. And then again, as I said, I'm going to have you read and analyze Albert Beveridge's March of the Flag, and that is linked right here. And then this worksheet, once you've completed it, you can post it to this forum. You can create a thread and post it right there. Let's go back to the weekly materials. I think that will bring you to the end of this week's activities. And then last but not least, read the chapter in American Yawp, which we will get to chapter 19, American Empire. So this really begins at the opening of 1900s. So we're looking at here a political cartoon in 1899. We're looking at political kind of caricature on American imperialists. And you can see here there's the Philippines, there's Hawaii, there's Puerto Rico, there's Cuba, and Uncle Sam is schooling them. So think about how you would interpret the different images in here. Over here you see there's a Native American, possibly, I can't even read my, we've got California, Arizona, Texas, Alaska, so the different states, and it looks like these students are learning or being taught about either these states or the rules and the regulations and whatnot. So there's a lot of things happening in this imagery. Pay attention to some of these cartoons that you'll come across in the American Yawp. They're as important as the readings that you're doing. So you'll read that, you'll think about that, analyze it, and then you'll come back and post it on the forum. And that will keep us up to date with week 2. So if you have any questions, any concerns with anything that I'm asking you to do, if you're unable to open a link, please let me know, and I'll certainly get to that. And otherwise, have a great week.